It does seem strange to cover two games at the same time, but neither of these games are really finished. Code Geass Painful Memories is more of a tech demo for a game that was maybe going to happen, but I think the developer began to realize how overly ambitious the project was and just silently gave up on it. There hasn't been an update involved in the game since sometime in 2013, and it's had a game crashing bug on the third battle since 2010 sometime. So yes, the game is effectively never going to be finished, so there's very little for me to say about it. Really isn't there? It's sort of sad though. I mean, Code Geass as a franchise has never had an English game. There's never been a game brought to the States in English for the series. Ever. And there's at least 3 of the games are on the DS from what I've read, so why they never saw a US release, I don't know, but that happens to a lot of anime-based games. They only get released in Japan and never see a stateside release a lot of the times, which is disappointing. What's even worse, in my opinion, for Code Geass Painful Memories is that it's a tactical RPG, and I really would have loved to play that. I mean, there's just not that many tactical RPGs out there for RPG Maker. There's some, don't get me wrong, but finding them can be a bit of a pain. Even on RPGmaker.net, there's only a small handful of ones that are finished. A lot of them are in the we're going to do this stage, and then sort of petered out because people go into these projects for RPG Maker and don't realize just how much time and effort a game will take up. They think it's going to be something quick and easy, and it's not. It's a time-consuming process. This is why I laughed at my boss when he suggested I make one, because I'm like, it'd take me 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 hours or something to make a game, or at least a good game. A good game with some length to it. Then I'd also have to spend time. Then there's all the time I have to spend writing scripts. Actually writing a script for the game, scripting out events, balancing out combat, play testing. You begin to realize that RPG Maker games, even if you're doing it just for fun, if you want to do a good game, it's a time-consuming process. With that being said, I wish someone would pick up the project and try and finish it. Maybe they could slim down the goal and just cover the battles of like the first or second season or something. Or maybe they could just do tactical battles representing various battles from all 3 seasons, and that'd basically be it. There wouldn't be any story or anything involved, just the battles. It might at least save them a bit in terms of effort there if they only focused on combat and then skipped the story. Considering it's a fan game, it wouldn't be unreasonable in my opinion to do so. After all, if you're making a fan game, it's meant for fans and not really meant to introduce people to the franchise. Sometimes it can do that, but with a game that's being based on a franchise has 3 seasons like Code Geass, I don't know if you could do a fan game that become that big if you tried covering the story, or you tried doing a main story that's spun off from a side story that's spun off from the main series. Especially if it's going to be a particularly long game covering over the course of the entire show. It'd be a large project, and you'd probably need multiple people working on it, and that could cause its own problems too with miscommunications and whatnot. I guess with that being said, I should move on to the other game. Duels of the Abyss is actually an entry in the 2014 Indie Game Maker contest. On the downside, it doesn't work. The game is just broken. It's a turn-based strategy game where you fight over territory, so I guess the developer is right in saying it's somewhat like Risk. But on the downside, the game crashes. Well, it doesn't crash so much as you become unable to move your units, and it's prone to graphical glitches and stuff as well. It's a serious problem. The game needs to be ironed out, and I seriously hope that the person who's working on it does continue it like they said they would. The game deserves to be finished. It's got an interesting card game concept that I'm sure has been used before many times, but it'd be nice to see a project like that finished. As it stands, I can't tell you that much about it, outside of the fact that you claim territories and you get energy based on how many territories you own and how high their level is. There are some tweaks I would suggest though. For one, add an AI to the game. Playing a second player may not always be possible, and playing yourself is never a good idea. It just always irritates me when the only option you have is to play against yourself, because there's no guarantee you're gonna find someone that's gonna want to play you in a game they've never heard of before or tried. Not to mention the game needs a tutorial too. The game doesn't have one, and while you can figure out a decent amount of the rules by yourself by just screwing around with it, it'd be nice to have a tutorial explaining how everything works, so it's easier to understand how damage calculations and all that stuff work in combat, so you can better plan strategies and stuff, and how the abilities work, because those really aren't explained either. I'm guessing they're ripping their ideas off from another system, but I don't play that many card games, so I'm not familiar with anything that's really going on in this game. And while I've picked up some of the basic rules, it'd be nice to have a better understanding of the strategies that you can deploy in the game. Another tweak I would suggest is having it be draw 5 or something, or draw until your hand has 5. That way you can actually get monsters out better, because eventually you start getting massive amounts of energy. But since you only draw one card at a time, you don't really have anything you can do with it. I'm also not sure why the land cards exist, because the game doesn't have, like I said, a tutorial to explain what they do and and why you'd want to use them. Do they power up certain monsters a certain amount? If so, does that mean you should just build a strategic base, and then try to expand out slowly? And how long is the game intended to be for a match? There's work that needs to be done on that. One of them is making the game actually work. Like I said, after a while you become unable to move units, and then the game's unbeatable. I've actually finished one match, and the game crashed, but I only finished it because I basically wouldn't let the second player do anything, and then just kept moving one unit up until I reached the target of the enemy's base and instantly won. And then the game became impossible to reload and restart a new match. It's an interesting idea, but needs to be worked on, much like the Code Geass game was interesting as a concept, but like many fan games, died a silent death. This one looks like it may still have some life in it, maybe. Like I said, maybe. I'm not sure what the developer's been doing since the contest, or if they realized that this project was also too ambitious and dropped it. If I get more information, I'll let you guys know, maybe. I don't think I'm going to get any more information unless the developer for Duels of the Abyss or Code Geass Paintful Memories finds this video and pops up and tells me they're working on it, or they have a new release or something going on. But I can hope. With that being said, I guess I can just cut off here, because I don't have anything else really to say about these two projects.